Hey everybody, Matt with Freestand here. Got a special guest on the show today, Matt Roberge. We got two Matts, so that's cool. How we doing, man?
I'm great.
Thanks for coming on. How would you describe your business? First of all, his business is called Vintage Sponsor. They sell vintage clothing for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you describe your business? Would you describe it as as a reseller? How would you describe yourself?
I would never describe myself as a reseller. Uh, I feel like reseller means someone that like buys and sells Supreme,
Mm,
which I would never do. But I don't know what I guess like a dealer, like a used clothing salesman. When people ask what I do, I say I sell used clothes.
there you
Uh,
go.
Most of the time they're vintage. But vintage means a lot of things to a lot of people. Some people think vintage is like stuff from the 60s and 50s. Some people think vintage is stuff from like the 1990s, and there's like, everything in between. uh yeah,
You sell used
I
clothes on the internet.
that's literally all I do. It's not special at all. I sell junk on the internet.
Very cool. And how did you get started with Vintage Sponsor in the first place? When did you get started? If you could talk a little bit about that, I think people would find that cool.
So I was filming snowboarding for money professionally, and I got to the top of the field that is snowboard filming, and I was like, this isn't that dope. I'm not that high up. Like, you don't make that much money basically. And I never really wanted to live out west, so I moved to New York. I always wanted to live in New York. From the Poconos, which is like an hour and a half away.
Mhm.
So it wasn't that big of a jump. And I grew up thrifting. My mom always brought me to the thrift stores. And when I was like in my 20s, I started like going to the thrift stores looking for Ralph Lauren. And I only wanted to look for Ralph Lauren. It's the only thing I wanted to wear. But when I'd be in there, I would see Tommy Hilfiger, which is like the same in a way. It's very similar vibe. It's like from the 90s. People collect it. You can find it in the thrift store, and you can sell it on eBay. So I was seeing it, and I was like, I might as well just buy this stuff too and sell it on eBay. So I started doing that, and I had some success.
And this is
And
mostly, you said Tommy Hilfiger?
I mean, I would sell. That was like my main thing. That was like the light bulb moment where I was like, wow, this Tommy Hilfiger jacket is probably worth some money. And then you look it up and you're like, oh yeah, this is like $100 jacket on eBay. But then I started buying like all types of stuff, band shirts, music. I got really into collecting skateboarding shirts from like the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, like stuff from my childhood. And at that time on eBay, you could buy the stuff for super cheap. And I was just buying a bunch of stuff for myself. And then, um, kind of as I got sick of my old skateboarding clothes that I've collected, I'd start selling them. And then it kind of molded together. And I was like, oh, I should make like a vintage skateboard, snowboard, Instagram type of deal. And then
What year? What year is this?
2015, I guess.
Okay.
Uh,
And what year did you start collecting the Tommy Hilfiger stuff? Like the very
Probably
beginning.
2010.
Okay.
Or collecting Tommy Hilfiger stuff, probably 2015 is when I really. So I started like going towards like Ralph Lauren in 2010, 2011. Because I remember in 2012 I had like a pretty good wardrobe, which all the snowboard people thought was so weird. Like when I'd go and like hang out with like the pro snowboarders, we go on trips. I remember like I'd always have like an outfit on when we go into the airport. They'd all be like dressed like bummy, and I would
Yeah.
have on like
Typical ski bum
ragged,
stuff.
like skateboarder gear. That's what they look like, skateboarders. But I'd be wearing like shoes I got on eBay that are like two or $300 shoes, and like, you know, double RL jeans, and they would just be like, "What are you doing? You look like an idiot." And then I was like, I don't know. I don't want to look like you guys. That's for sure.
That's funny.
But yeah, 2015 is when I really started going hard with like vintage sponsor. It was kind of like
yeah.
I was just mainly focused on eBay, and then eBay kind of like some weird things happened on eBay where people wanted to return stuff for like just because they didn't want it. They got it. They're like, "Oh, I don't want this," and it gave me like you get like strikes on eBay, and then they like cut your account down. You can't make as much money. So I had the vintage sponsor account going, and then I just was like, fuck it. I just have to go full on like Instagram. And I used all the pro snowboard people that I knew to like shout it out. And it was like sustainable, like within the first week of like getting a couple shout outs.
That's
like I was
awesome.
like,
and they were
I
just
was like,
shouting you out on Instagram?
I would just send them boxes of stuff that I knew that they would want. It was either, so the name comes from my friend Mike Rav. We were like sitting in his house in the summertime, and I was editing his video part. And he snowboards for Volcom. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna send you a bunch of like vintage Volcom shirts because I see them all the time. No one wants them, but you ride for Volcom, you like have to wear these shirts, but you don't have to wear like the shirts everyone else has. Like, I'll send you the vintage ones. I'll be like your vintage sponsor. And
There
then
you go.
I was like, ooh, this is a good name. So I had boxes of stuff for my friends that were like my close friends. I was like, oh, this guy likes this band. This guy likes this like brand. This guy snowboards for this brand. And they were hyped. And then, so it was like real easy. And they have like thousands and thousands of followers from snowboarding. So,
of course. Very cool. It's funny though that when you were like filming like all the snowboarders, you didn't want to dress like them because
no.
that's funny. I feel like if you're like in that scene, like everybody kind of does the same thing. That's interesting. That
I'm like a contrarian kind of, I guess, in a way.
yeah.
I mean, I'm like a legitimate skateboarder, snowboarder. Like when I was a kid, it was the counterculture. There was jocks, and if you were a skater, you were not cool. You were not fucking cool. And now, if you're a skater, you're like the coolest person in school, probably. You're like the coolest.
Yeah. That's with like
so,
everything.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I spoke with somebody who's like a video game coach. Okay.
Oh my God.
Which is something that you would never think could ever be a thing 10 years ago. Right. And when you were in like the early 2000s, right. Or whatever,
yeah,
you were in high school. If you played video games, like that wasn't cool. But now if you
you're just a nerd.
You're just a
nerd.
Yeah,
you're just a nerd. Yeah.
Now these kids are making like crazy money playing video games. But
yeah.
Anyway. But cool. So this is like 10 years ago you start, 2015, kind of all starts to come together, start to build an audience on Instagram, which I think, starting 5 years ago was very different. Now it's just so crowded. You know what I mean? So like the fact that you built the base 5 years ago, like I feel like now when people are just starting off on Instagram, since everybody has one, it's hard for people to
Nightmare. You gotta pay to play now. Like if you want to get going, you gotta pay. You gotta pay ads. You gotta have some analytics person, or you gotta have some famous friends. And even then, it might not work.
Yeah, you have to have good. You have to have stuff that people are gonna share by themselves.
Oh, yep.
You know what I mean? I think that's the most important thing. So like the thing about clothing specifically, and like all these cool trendy clothes are. It's like somebody sees it and they're like, oh, like I got to send this to my friend. You know what I mean? Like this is really cool. But when they see just like boring content all the time by the same people, nobody wants to send that to anyone. You know what I mean?
Very true.
So I think that's just like, especially with vintage stuff. All right. So a question I had for you, because this like is really something that I've always wondered with like vintage clothing dealers, is where do you find your clothing? generally? It probably comes from a mix of places, but
Yeah, mix of places. Thrift stores. Which thrift stores I go to has changed over the years. It used to be really, really good in between the Poconos and New York, in New Jersey. So I would go like on 80, you'd go like to Patterson, which is like northern New Jersey, or you go like down towards Newark on 78. And there's two different like routes, and there's a bunch of thrift stores. And I used to just be able to load up my car on the way there and on the way back. And back then I wasn't buying half the amount of stuff as I'm buying now. Like back then I would just buy like stuff that I'm like, oh, I think this can sell. This is pretty obvious, pretty cool. Now I'm buying like anything that's old, like blank t-shirts that are old, like even not blank t-shirts, like random weird shirts from the 80s. Like there used to be so much stuff back in the day, but this is the every guy cries about this. Oh, it used to be so much better. It used to be so much better. Every vintage person. Oh, it used to be so much better. Can you imagine going in a thrift store in like the 90s and it's like just full of stuff from the 60s, and now it's like if you find something from the 60s nowadays, it's like insane, crazy.
yeah.
But it's just like stocks kind of, honestly. Like the clothes are just like they're always going to get rarer and rarer, so like most of them just keep going up in price. But I used to just hit all the thrift stores, and now I go like far out into Pennsylvania, or I'll go like north. I usually don't go south. I don't thrift in New York City. I
You
have
can't.
people that
I
bring
feel
me
like you
stuff.
can't make. I was gonna say I feel like you can't make money if you're thrifting in New York City.
It's
If
just
you're
hard. There's a bunch of people that you have to like fight with and stuff, and it's just annoying.
yeah, you got to go to the remote locations, the rural locations, and then sell it to the New York City customers.
Yeah, pretty much. But when you go to rural areas, you don't end up finding like the really cool stuff. Like you won't find like music shirts and like art shirts, because like those people aren't into that. But you do end up finding like cool Carhartt stuff and like
John
old
Deere hats.
sweatshirts. What's up? John
I
Deere
said,
hats.
yeah, John Deere
Do you
hats.
ever
Yeah.
you ever look up how much a John Deere hat's going for?
No, but I got one.
Certain John Deere hats are like $1,100.
Oh my god, that's insane. It's so funny how like these weird like iconic brands in a way that you wouldn't expect to be like
Yeah.
really cool from a fashion perspective like later are. You know what I mean? Like who in the heck thought that tractors would be cool? You know what I mean? But people
I don't even
stuff.
think that it's cool. I don't even think that's fashionable. I think it's like weird collectors come out of the woodwork. Like people collect like fire engines and like train stuff. Like I don't know if these people are collecting I think it's hat collectors that get on to like, oh, there's this company that made hats in the 80s called K Products or K Brand, and they want like all these iconic brands that they made hats for, and like John Deere and like soda companies. I've seen like a lot of soda ones go for like hundreds of dollars. The John Deere ones are really like expensive. It's a lot of overseas market, like Asia. They like collect weird shit. So strange. Like certain
Like
shirts,
American
like
brands.
it's not even, it's like, it's so weird. It's
Predictable.
unexplainable. It's unexplainable. It's like the weirdest shit. And these people want like every single shirt that's like this certain design. It's like, it'll say like a college, and then it'll be like a rainbow stripe around here. And it's a polo shirt, like a polo collar, with the buttons.
Yeah.
And it's made by this company Velveteen, or some of them are made by Velveteen. And it's like, they call them like rainbow polos or something. And they just sell for like $150.
That's crazy.
I don't know why. If they just collect them, it's just a weird thing.
I feel like Asian, especially China, like I feel like they are like one of the trendiest, kind of like most fashionable, like as in total unison, like the most amount of people that are like.
I mean, they have the fastest growing middle class. There's tons of money over there. They're buying stuff, but I've been told that pretty sure it's China, that they don't like used clothes because they think it's someone else's clothes. It's like got weird, especially dead people's clothes.
Mm.
They're not down. They're
Hmm.
dead. It's their clothes. I don't want their whatever juju around me. It's like bad luck. I think.
Interesting.
Um,
It's got to
but
be some
but they're
cultural thing.
but they're into like off white and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Supreme. They love it. Palace. They love it.
Yeah. All that stuff. Um, it's crazy. Just like the different tastes. Um, so in terms of, I guess that was just something that I was like always really interested about because I was always like, and it's funny you mentioned that all the different, um, vintage guys say that it used to be way better. And I wonder if like, and I was actually talking to my roommate about this the other day because we went to like a vintage place and I was like, don't you think they like eventually like run out? And he's just like, no, because new things become vintage, which I guess is true. But I
Yep.
wonder, like, what your take is on that in terms of like, are there certain eras, obviously, that does it take a long time for a certain era to become cool? Like, are 2000 and shirts from 2010 cool in 2020? You know what I mean? So that's why I was kind of like, I guess, but I feel like it's kind of crazy.
So you've heard it's like fashion is cyclical. It's like a big circle, just comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
But now imagine it's a spider web. So it's like certain things that like certain things in the 80s become fashionable and then certain time periods become fashionable. So it's like certain things in the 80s, certain things in the 90s, certain looks of the 2000s. It's always coming and going. It's right now the Y2K. I've been labeling things Y2K. It's like stuff that like came out around that time. That's just like, who would want this? Like, it's
Yeah.
weird, but when you see it, you're like, oh my god, this looks like some shit they would have worn on Malcolm in the Middle, which like you can picture right away, like a t-shirt with like a built-in long sleeve with
Yeah.
some flames on it or something, or like some weird character that doesn't make any sense, like a weird like alien skateboarding. Like, that's,
This
I love it when I find that stuff. I'm like, this is incredible. This is like such a cultural like timepiece. Like, it's just, you see it and you're like, oh, this is like the Y2K, early 2000s.
early 2000s. Okay.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask what that was. Um, Very cool. In terms of where you sell and stuff, so I know before we started recording, you told me that you have like a studio. Um, Vintage sponsor for everybody who's listening is in Williamsburg. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'll put the address and everything, links to everything. But you said you have like a studio where you let some people come in like by appointment, but it's not really retail, and it's mostly online, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
It's 90% of my business is done online. Um, I have like a storage warehouse space in the basement. That's just like where most of the clothes are. And then upstairs on the third floor, there's like a shared studio space that's more curated and nice. And there's like natural lighting in there. And
Mostly
I mean,
jeans.
yeah, it's mostly pants and you can just look at them super easy. They're hung up on a rack. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to, it's kind of annoying because I'm not here all day, every single day. I'm usually here like 3 days a week. And then I'll go buy some stuff. I'll go fishing. I'll go to Pennsylvania for like a night or two. On the weekends, I'm hanging out with my girlfriend. So I'm not really in that much for people to come by. But if you really want to come by, you can definitely make it happen. You just have to email me or DM me.
And what's the deal with the business? Is it just you running everything, or do you have somebody who helps you do shipping? Because if you're only there 3 days a week, right? I'm sure you get orders every day.
Yeah, I just ship shit once a week.
Okay.
Uh, if Before COVID, I was dropping stuff off at the post office basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but now I just drop it off on Thursday because going to the post office in the city is a nightmare.
It
They
is. It.
it's like just, and I print all the labels. All I have to do is drop it off, and even that they have like a problem with. Like it used to be like, yo, don't bring your packages here and pay for them individually. It takes like an hour. Now it's like, yo, don't even bring your packages here. Period. All right, fine.
What am I
I'll
supposed to
bring them.
do?
I'll bring them to Pennsylvania. Sometimes I'll put them in my car, and if you see like a mail truck, you can just be like, yo, can you take this bag of prepaid mail? And they'll be like, sure.
That's awesome.
So, but that's like, you got to find one of those guys on the street.
And you can't get them
But
to come. You can't get them to come by and pick it up.
I think I can get them to come to my apartment. I haven't tried it, because you can't just tell them, hey, I have a bag of mail. You have to like tell them the exact amount of mail. So if you say 30 packages and there's like 29, they're going to be like, there's a package missing. We won't take this. Or if you say there's 50 packages and there's only 30, they'll be like, what's going on here? Like, or like, yeah, there's too many packages. But yeah, I don't have anyone helping me really. I have people that I've invited to sell on vintagesponsor.com. They're mostly in Massachusetts. They're just like my friends. And they ship their own stuff, and I just pay them basically every week or whatever. Whenever they want money, they just ask me, oh, yeah, you owe me this much.
That's a great idea. So go ahead.
So in a way, they're helping me by like sending me content, and I can post stuff when I'm not working. I can post their stuff. But it's a one-man show down here. Like for me, for everyone that sells and sponsor, there's no one like, oh, we're out. Someone else will ship it. There's none of that going on.
So how many people, you said you have friends that sell on Vintage Sponsor. So
yeah,
are you taking a percentage? Like, is it kind of like a consignment deal? Okay.
Yeah, it's like a little percentage.
So they get to use your Instagram with your 50,000 followers. They get to list on your website, which I'm sure has a decent amount of traffic. It sounds like actually a great idea. It's like
I should be charging them more, but they're like my friends. Like I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it to like help them out.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it at the same scale as I'm doing it. They're like, one of them is just like, I'm cool just getting by. The other one is like, I do this as like my secondary hobby. He has a full-time job. Another one, full-time job, like just as a hobby. And then another one of my friends like barely even sends me stuff. He like hates going to the thrift store now because he's one of those guys that's like, oh, it's ruined. It used to be so good. And now he's like pissed. He's like, oh, I used to be able to just drive around to all these thrift stores and get all this stuff. And now he can't find it anymore. And he's like, he's getting like jaded, I guess. He's like burned out.
Yeah. That's interesting though. I mean, that potentially could be a big opportunity just for letting other people come on. You know what I mean?
I used to think about it a little bit more. Like how I could like invite a lot of people and like charge them 20%, which people would definitely do, because if you go on Depop, you're
Same
just
thing.
like, it's 20%. Yeah. But then like the more people you get involved, the more problems there are. Like there's random problems with like my friends that sell stuff. I'll get like an email like, oh, where's this thing at? And I'm just like, what thing? And then I'll look and I'll be like, oh, it's friggin' Bar's been snowboarding for a month straight and like forgot to mail this thing. Like, Bar, what's up? Where's it at? I don't want to get these emails anymore. He's just like, shit, I've been snowboarding. And then I'll tell the customer, I'm like, yo, he's been snowboarding. We're going to get it sent out soon. And they're like, oh, that's no problem. They don't. 90% of the time, the customer's like, oh, that's fine. I was just wondering. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't lost.
It's not
like,
bad.
yeah, it's February. It's been snowing so much. Like, we were all like just barely working in February.
Did you do you have a pass, Epic Pass, Icon Pass?
No. I go to Shawnee.
Where's Shawnee?
It's first exit off of 80 in Pennsylvania.
So you're just getting tons of reps in Pennsylvania?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's great. Honestly, I got an Epic Pass. I skied 3 times this year, so.
Yeah, I don't like going to like the big. I don't like Vail. Is it Epic Pass is Colorado, right?
Well, it covers a ton. I mean, it covers Stowe.
Oh, Epic Pass is like the Vail thing.
It's the Vail thing. So Vail owns all of these mountains, right? It owns Okemo, Stowe, Hunter, Snow.
Yeah.
bunch out west, and then it has like partnerships with a bunch of them too. So you get like
Mhm.
5 days here, 5 days here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'm a local. I'm a local vibe guy. Like if I wasn't a local at a hill, I just wouldn't go. Like I like to
interesting.
go to the same place. I know everyone there. I know everything about the hill. I know when to go. I know when not to go. I know where to park. It's like it's incredible
Easy.
going to Shawnee. I've been going to Shawnee since I was 5. It's I can put my boots on in my parents' house and drive to the hill and be there in 10 minutes. I I'm like spoiled basically. Even though like
Oh, you grew up right
spoiled, like
next to it.
grew up right next to it.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. When I was
Uh,
talking to one of my friends today, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was snowboarding so much," and I'm like, "Oh, you were driving from Brooklyn to Big Boulder. That's like 2.5 hours. Like, I would just quit snowboarding if I had to do that.
it
I would literally
sucks.
quit."
It sucks. I mean, the worst part about it is when you get home, like whatever after Friday after 5 o'clock, get in the car, drive up to. I usually go to Stowe because one of my
Okay.
buddies has a house up there, and that's 5 hours away. So we go up there,
Yeah.
and we ski for the weekend, and then we come home. And by the time you get
Traffic
back,
both ways.
traffic both ways. By the time you get home on Sunday, you're just so exhausted. Monday morning, yeah, I'm not recovered until Tuesday. It kind of does make it less enjoyable for sure. Um, so anyway, in terms of like the places that you sell those, so do you also sell on any of those marketplaces, or is it just Instagram driving traffic to your website and then selling directly off your website?
90%, 99% is Instagram to the website. Um, Occasionally, I will throw something on eBay if it's like something really, really obvious that's like high price item, super rare that is collectible or something. You could just see that they've been selling on eBay. I'll throw it up. Um, I also have wholesale people that come and they'll just buy like a ton of stuff, basically like half off. But they buy like today, someone came and spent like $2,500, just bought like tons of stuff. Um, which
Which is
I
like,
love.
yeah, of course, you can just blow material out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So, and it, do you run any ads on Instagram, or is it literally just your follower base that you're using?
So I used to, like last year, I was doing an ad every week, and it seemed like I would get, maybe like 50 followers a week or something, and that's with like followers coming and going. Uh, but I haven't taken an ad out in a long time because they switched some sort of thing up in the back on the back end with Facebook, Instagram, and it just wouldn't let me do it. And I think I've got it figured out now, so I'm going to start doing it again. But it definitely seemed like it would help when I was doing it, and I wasn't against it at all because it's like $30 and you get like followers and the money's coming in still. So why not just
Yeah.
throw some money, promote some stuff. The algorithm is a bitch. The algorithm is like everyone's worst fucking enemy. You got to fight that thing constantly. Um, it's weird. It's
It's
crazy.
it is crazy. It's and
It's freaking crazy.
the thing is, it's just become like a rat race now. You know what I mean? Between everybody, it's like who can post as much as it can
It's
post.
like a rat. It's like a secret society over there at Instagram. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody knows anyone that works there. If you do know someone that works there, they got NDAs. They can't talk about it. They don't want to help you. They can't say anything about what does what. Nothing's explained. And it's like you get a feel for it. Um, I used to have a strict regimen of time and days before the algorithm. It was Sunday night, you could post up. It would sell. Monday through Thursday night, you could post tons of stuff. It would all sell. A lot of it would sell. If you posted some stuff on Friday, nothing is selling. Saturday, nothing is selling. You have to wait until Sunday afternoon to the night. And then once the algorithm came, it's fucking free for all. Just post stuff whenever you want because
There's
someone
no
might not see your post.
predictability.
Someone might not see your post. Someone will see your post at the top of their feed and it'll be like, oh, this post is 2 days old. It's like, what? How is this at the top of my feed? It's 2 days old.
Yeah. I think
But
I think what's kind of like scary about that is, there are so many businesses that are just like the backbone of the business is built off of it. You know what I mean? And for somebody like you who already has tons of followers, it's one thing, but for somebody who has less, and is like, where else are they going to find distribution? You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy that like one company holds a lot of small businesses kind of like hostage. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's something that has definitely been on my mind. But yeah,
definitely. All my eggs are basically in one basket. Um, I have like an email list, which like worst case scenario, I could just be like, hey, I've added 100 things and just let everyone know. Like that's probably like 4,000 people or something, which is quite a lot.
that's quite a lot.
But
Also,
yeah,
you have people at this point who are just, I'm sure, coming directly to Vintage Sponsor, like, on their own. They just go,
yeah,
as opposed to look, they're not, yeah, they already found you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's different. Also, you can just you could sell on other marketplaces and stuff. Not trying to be like negative at all. I was just like saying it's just kind of crazy how Instagram
yeah.
has
Oh, for sure.
like, everybody like in
Yeah,
their hands. But anyway, all right, man. Well, this was really cool. I learned a lot. And for all of the huge audience that I have, I'm sure they learned a lot too. But no, seriously, I'm gonna do a write up too about you on the website. So I'll include a bunch of links and stuff to everything. Matt, is there anything that you want to get out there to the people? Any last words? Oh, I do have one more question for you. I
okay,
have one more quick question for you. If
love it.
if there's somebody that is thinking about getting into the vintage clothing game and they're listening, do you have any advice for them?
I've been asked this many times, and if I'm in a bad mood, I'll answer with, I'll simply answer with, have good taste, and I
I
won't
think
say anything else.
I think
And
that's
if
actually,
yeah, that's literally, I grew up watching TV, grew up skateboarding, listening to the music in the skateboard videos. I grew up being interested in history, so I've always been interested in the past, and if you know about the past, you know what's coming in the future. You'll have a good idea. And if you don't pay attention to pop culture or anything like that, you are screwed, my friend. You don't know what is what. When you see a T-shirt of a band or music or art, you won't know what it is. You'll be chasing everyone else. You'll be a follower. You don't want to be a follower. You want to be a leader. You want to know what's going on. You want to get in front of everybody and be there before everyone else. Because if you're in the caboose, you're fucked.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's really good advice, man. I
My
appreciate.
last my
Yeah,
last words are: don't watch me, watch TV.
there you go. Don't watch me. Watch TV. You heard it here, everybody. All right, Matt. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and we being me. And we'll talk soon, man. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Peace. Should have